And we are live. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Wake Up with Toastmasters. My name is Jean Williams. I'm your program quality director for District 115, which is Southern Nevada and a little piece of Utah. And today I don't have a co-host, but I have something better. I have two and one on the way, guests from Saturday Morning Live. So I have Jan Richardson. Hi, Jan.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm awake. This is good. It's early.
And then I have Eugene Zolnay. How are you, Eugene? How are you? We call you Z. How are you, Z?
I'm all right. Thank you.
We call him Z because there's a lot of genes, as you can probably figure out. There's a lot of genes in the Toastmaster world. So we get Z. And we have Jane Dow on the way. And I owe you in a public, I need to make a public apology. You guys were supposed to be on last week, and it was my fault that you were waiting with the link in another newsroom and I was on another news. So I'm sorry. I'm very, very sorry. But thank you for waking up again early and being patient with me and being here today.
It's no problem. We're getting it done. That's all that counts.
So the fun thing is all three of you are from Saturday Morning Live and all three of you are also area directors. I say three because again, we're expecting Jane any second now. Where is Jane? We'll have an intern go look for her. We've sent one of the interns to look for her. She might be wandering around in the newsroom and can't find the place. So, but tell us, I know we've had Z on the show before, but you've not, I don't think, Jan, you've been our guest. So I want to hear our question to every guest. Tell us about your first Toastmaster experience.
Oh my gosh. I started Toastmasters 7 years ago. I could have started 17 years ago. Or maybe not quite that long, but I've known about Toastmasters for years. And I actually introduced my husband to Toastmasters, but I didn't join. I thought I knew he would like it. It was something he would want to do, but I wasn't interested because I was absolutely certain I would never get in front of an audience. And so I didn't do it. Lo and behold, it happened. I had to get in front of an audience, and then it became more frequent. And then I was asked to do more and more things in public and in front of people, and I was an absolute wreck. So I finally bit the bullet, joined Toastmasters, and I've been kicking myself ever since because I should have joined, instead of 7 years ago, 17 years ago, but I didn't.
Well, I think that's kind of one of the I keep looking like now I'm sorry, I'm scared. We have youth leadership projects, and I of course, didn't know anything about those. And I keep thinking now, how different would my life have been if I had been comfortable public speaking in middle school?
Yes.
That first job interview wouldn't have been so incredibly scary. And one of the many times I had to stand up and introduce myself in front of the classroom would have been easier. I think we need to get more of those out for that same reason. Sometimes you look and you think, wow, how much different. But we'll see how long have you been? You've been in Toastmasters quite a while.
I've been in Toastmasters since 1990.
Okay.
First in California and now in Nevada.
Why do you stay in Toastmasters?
Because I like the people. I like the fact that in Toastmasters you get a lot of very intelligent people speaking what they believe in, speaking with their minds. It's an interesting experience, and it also gives me the opportunity to give to others what I've learned. It's a very good feeling to be in Toastmasters for me, and so I've stayed in it. I've been very slow at making progress in Toastmasters, but I've stayed with it.
Well, one thing that I do enjoy is it's self-paced. So anybody, you guys are out there, if you're not in Toastmasters yet, you're worried, well, I don't want to have speeches every single week. No, it's self-paced. You do it when you're ready at your own pace, the projects you're ready to work on. But so Jan, what is one thing that you never expected you would find in Toastmasters and you did?
Well, I never expected to find myself in Toastmasters.
Okay, good answer. Good answer.
Because, for the same reasons, I never thought that it wasn't that I didn't need it. I knew I needed it, but I was terrified of it. And what What was the question?
What's what's a part of Toastmasters you didn't expect to find?
Oh, the fact as for me, how long, once you're in Toastmasters for a little while, your progress sneaks up on you. You don't realize it's happening. And all of a sudden you could stand in front of the group and not shake and not get pasty mouth and have all those things. You might start that way for a minute, but it goes away and you become more and more comfortable on the stage. There's all kinds of things that I felt happened to me, but I never expected it. That was one of it. The biggest thing for me is how your progress sneaks up on you because you take on all these different roles.
Yeah, I would say if I could only say in one word, what have you got out of Toastmasters so far? I'd say confidence.
Confidence.
But for me, it was interesting. It wasn't the public speaking part because I knew about that. And as arrogant as this sounds, I knew I'd be talking. I somehow didn't think other people would be talking too. So I learned my listening skills. My listening skills have vastly improved. But what about you, Z? What's something you didn't expect you would get out of Toastmasters that you have?
I think probably what leadership experience I've gotten mostly from club officership, but also now area director. I think that was something I don't think of myself as a leader even now, but I'm finding that I do have some skills in that area.
Well, I think there's different types of leaders. I think the people who think that being a leader is being bossy. And you hear that all the time. Well, like the people say, well, I speak for a living. I don't need to go to Toastmasters, but maybe you're not, maybe you're a teacher to second graders. That doesn't mean you wouldn't benefit from Toastmasters. Mm-hmm. But the same thing with the people who, well, I don't ever want to go into management, but you don't understand how sometimes those leadership skills equate to so many aspects of our lives.
It absolutely helped me. And the leadership skills also improved. And the one thing that I found was because of evaluations in the club, at the club level, and learning the techniques of evaluation, you could transfer that to your work environment. As a manager, I used that for all of my evaluations. For any time I had to deal with somebody, with an employee, where I'd have to have a conversation with them, I always use the sandwich approach, and it's helped. I mean, I was not expecting that either. So there's so many benefits.
Yeah, it's not just public speaking, you guys.
No.
It's not about making you a professional public speaker. It's about making you a better speaker, a better listener, a better leader than you were before. But, well, I'm going to skip to, I was waiting for Jane so I could ask you guys all together, but you two have to represent Saturday Morning Live. So let's talk about Saturday Morning Live, Saturdays, not every Saturday, Saturdays at 10 a.m., second and fourth Saturday, second and fourth Saturday, 10 a.m. Pacific. Are you guys meeting virtual or online or in person?
We're in person now.
Oh, okay.
Completely in person. We had a few problems with doing the hybrid thing. It's very difficult. You need to have somebody who is devoted to being the Zoom master, as I'm probably sure you're aware. Mm. And we found that doing that with having a live meeting at the same time just didn't work for us. So we're going back to just live all together, and we'll see how that lasts. We'll, with Jan can speak to this point. We still have COVID with us, and we might wind up going back on Zoom. I don't know. It's just that's the way things are.
Yeah. Well, so then you're meeting in person. Where are you meeting then?
I'll let Jen handle that one.
The Valley Auto Mall at the on Gibson. I don't have the address in front of me, but on South Gibson and Henderson.
330 North. Was it? Yeah, North Gibson.
At the Buick dealership.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the second floor.
And guests are always welcome.
Yeah, always. They have a nice conference room on the second floor that we're able to use.
Okay. So that's good. And
Yeah.
yours is one of our, I guess, medium to bigger size clubs.
We have about 21 members right now.
Okay. Okay.
Which-
But again, nobody's going to be, the one thing that every single guest we've had in one way or another has used the word support.
Mhm.
And I've visited your club before, and the environment right away, you walk in the door and it's almost like you've known everybody forever.
Mhm.
Like, oh, hi, how are you? Have a seat. You know, it's just like really coming to this really great person's house. And so I think that's what I see when I visited you guys. And I think any guest would see that too. So don't let the number 21 overwhelm you. It isn't like you're going to walk in, and again, you don't have to speak the very first day. You walk in the doors, they'll welcome you absolutely. You'll feel comfortable. You'll be asked, you know, would you like to participate? Do you feel comfortable participating? That's what I saw when I visited the club, and I don't think it's changed over the last year.
No, it hasn't. We don't expect guests to do anything other than to come and observe. And even sometimes when people join, you know, it's always good to to jump into a role or to do something, you know, so you are a participant, but it's not necessary.
Well, plus you're going
And
to get that training and support anyway. It
get
isn't
it.
where you walk in and like, okay, next week you'll be speaking 5 to 7. Here's your book. You know, it is. Remember, I talked about self-paced.
No, there's always somebody who is there to answer your questions, to help you along, to help you, to help mentor you, to get you to where you want to be. And you know, we all do it. You know, any of us who have been there for any length of time participate in making sure new members are welcomed and are part of the team.
Yeah. And one thing that, speaking of teams, the three of you, and I keep saying three because where are you, Jane?
I don't know.
I don't
I
have
don't have my phone. I can't text her.
I don't have a text from her. I looked at that right now. I don't have a text from her, Jane. You're missing out. This is we're having a fun meeting without you. But but so you've all three was it just coincidence you all three became area directors, or did you sit and think together? I know we should all three be area directors.
No, you know, initially I saw that they were the trio. You guys were looking for area directors, and I thought the timeline had passed. And honestly, I wasn't sure if I would qualify because Ken was in a leadership role, but I volunteered because I said, you know, you guys still need people, and you know, we've been through COVID. It's been a rough period, and I would gladly do it. I'm retired now. I'd happily, you know, was more than happy to do it. But you don't have to be retired to fulfill this role. I would have done it anyway. But after that, I knew that, you know, you still had open positions. So I wasn't sure that Z could do it, but I talked to Jane about it. And Jane, I said, hey, they're still looking for people. Jane agreed and came along. And then shortly thereafter, one of the area directors who started didn't stay very long. And we went to Z and said, hey, Z, what do you think? He's done this before. So yeah, he came along too.
There's a backstory to that. Back when I was in California, before the turn of the millennium, I was an area governor.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that word, governor, in District 57, B23. And just in the middle of my term, my job came to an end there, and there was another job that was waiting that I could take in Las Vegas. So I left my area behind, and I came to Nevada. And so I'm considering this as being a continuation of my my one term as area director. And I'm hoping that I can continue in this, because the only reason that I can really participate at this level is because I am working from home now because of COVID. So it's kind of like, yeah, this is the silver lining to the COVID cloud for me. So I get a chance to be an area director.
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting. So many companies, have been working at home for basically 2 years now.
Mhm.
And then now that things are starting, not done, but starting to get better. It's so funny, the companies, well, okay, you've been working at home and been so productive. Come back to the office now.
Yeah.
I think they should figure out, give people a chance if the person has shown that they can be productive.
Yeah.
But that's a side. That's my other soapbox. So we'll talk. But yeah, I think there's pluses and minuses. I enjoyed working from home for the most part, but I think I did miss a little bit seeing my coworkers all the time. My friends. I'm missing my friendly coworkers. I didn't like that one in the office that has to come over and lean on your cubicle all day long and chat about something you don't care about. I didn't
Right.
miss that. Oh man.
So yeah,
Oh,
the three of us were wound up being area directors together. So, and because we're in the same club, it made it really easy for us to lean on each other and to ask for support from each other. And for Z, like Z, for example, had a club that needed help, and Jane and I both started going to the meetings for a while.
and now there's a fourth one of you, a fourth area director, who's not one of your Saturday Morning Live folks, but Tammy Green, who's part of your
Yes.
team. And I know I've met her, I have become friends with her, and we
Mhm.
are, yeah, so I think you guys got a really dynamic foursome
Mhm.
for your area. You really do. And I mean, for your division, I should say.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
and yeah, a lot of great things going on. But aren't you, so with all three of you though, like doing contests and stuff, is this taking a hit on Saturday Morning Live?
We worked around it for most of our meetings up until now that it's contest season. It really doesn't have anything to do with Saturday Morning Live. I'm just helping more with some of these contests.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, we made it a point that we would have our contest on a Saturday that was not one that we were meeting on.
Exactly.
Yeah, we all agreed to that and sort of ganged up, and that's what happened, I think.
Yeah. And you guys were the very first contest that kicked off
Yeah.
contest season. So what is the one thing you did not expect to learn from having a contest that you learned either the hard way or the good way? Oh, I should have brought, or it's a good thing I
can tell you the biggest thing, at least for me, was with pathways. You need to make sure that the contestants, that judges are qualified, because what we learned is that you really have to check those qualifications and make sure that they've got everything entered, because some people will do the work, but they don't enter what they do. They haven't been entering their things, or they forget to enter, their post test and get credit for the work that they have done.
Mm.
And that came up a few times, and we had to go back in and make sure all of that got taken care of and that they entered their information. Because people, they give a speech, they walk away from that speech and they forget the follow-up. So it doesn't get submitted, and then it appears that they are not qualified when in fact they are.
Oh, I could see that happening. I know I've been a little bit lax in turning in stuff at times.
A lot of people forget to finish it up, and that's the difference between the old system and the pathway system. Is as an area director, as whoever, you do have to check the credentials of anybody that's coming in as a contestant, because they do have to meet qualifications to be a judge or to be in the international contest. That was the biggest takeaway. But we had plenty. We had all kinds of takeaways.
What is the thing you were most proud of about how your contest came out?
I think it is how everything pulled together. It's kind of like at the day before, the Friday before the contest, we were in crisis mode. We were wondering how all of this was going to come together. And yet it did. I think one of the reasons it did come together is because Jan, being a retired nurse, basically charted everything. As nurses do. And so we knew who had to do what, when, and who we had serving in various, everything. We had contestants, people who are vote counters. They were all on the spreadsheet. And it's kind of like, Jan was probably, well, she was not exactly freaking out on the day before, but I can tell there was a little tension, but she knew, yeah, we got all the people in the right places. And as she's very close to the chief judge, she knew that the judge was being taken care of. So it's kind of like, yeah, it's very useful to have a point of reference that you can turn to and say, yeah, we got everybody in the right place. Okay.
Yeah. I think also people in the medical profession tend to be more calm because I just don't think somebody wants to go in the hospital and have their, I think you want your nurse. That's okay. No, you're not bleeding too much. Let me just put this tourniquet here. You know, you just want this calm sweetness about medical people. So I can understand that. And yeah, and recording, everything has to be recorded. So that's good. And for those of you who may not realize, our Tuesday, Thursday host, who you see, Ken Richardson, is the other, the Jan is the better half of the Richardson duo. So that's what she refers to about her chief judge. So yeah, there you go. So Ken, and you'll have them on Tuesday, Thursday. So then, oh, I'm sorry, my regular alarm's about to go off.
Yeah, we have one of those too.
Well, I put her on a recharging station on, the mat that she lays on, and then she just decided, hey, somebody's here. Oh, okay. So let's see. So we talked about Saturday Morning Live, and we talked about the contest. Jen, what would you like to tell us about?
In terms of the contest?
In terms of something you think people, so we have prospective members in our audience and members in our audience. What was something you would like to tell perhaps a prospective member?
Oh my gosh. If you have, whether you think you need it or not, Toastmasters is a place where you do gain confidence. And for example, I thought I would stick around in Toastmasters for maybe, I was going to give it 6 months, and then I thought I'd be done. And it's 7 years later, I'm still here. There's a reason for that. Because first of all, enjoy it. I enjoy the people. You become friends with so many new people, and it expands your world, and it expands, everything that you do, because it translates to almost everything you do.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot even say how much benefit I have received from Toastmasters. And there's a lot of what I call lifers out there in Toastmasters, and I'm probably one of them.
Yeah.
And it's I've told so many people about it. Most of the time they present with the same fears that I had before I joined. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to embarrass myself. I didn't need it. I didn't need the confidence. And in fact, I did need the confidence because I've been in a management role for a long time, and I needed to be able to deal with people, and it teaches you those skills too.
Yeah, you're right, because I know there's those very confident people who come in just to polish the edges, and I learned from them a skill set maybe that I had not thought about, that maybe it was like a non-Toastmaster approach, and I go, oh, that is an interesting way to present that. But the ones who come in that need it, I hate to say need it the most, because everybody needs to be improved, but the ones who come in who are so petrified to even introduce themselves. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because the one lady, I remember her saying, for months and months, please come visit our club. Please, it was a corporate club, come on, come. Well, no, I would just embarrass myself, and I would embarrass everybody else who's there having to wait for me. And I never thought of it that way, but then she finally did come in, and I kind of joked that was the hardest evaluation I ever had to write. I was the evaluator for her icebreaker, and it lasted 38 seconds. Mm-hmm. I had just finished writing my name on the top of the evaluation sheet, and she was done. But I've
seen that.
But I learned more from her than I have from the people who came in all polished, because I learned to, well, of course, exercised patience, but also really saw things from a different point of view, that she was genuinely worried that we would be held back by her. And it just made all of us rally around her even more to bring her along and to help her. And yeah, it's just so funny, the people who, whatever excuse you have, you're not going to have it once you visit a club, because you're going to find that people are supportive, that they want you there, that, a lot of people kind of joke that I joined Toastmasters because I could only talk to my shoes, and my goal was to speak to the other person's shoes instead.
You learn that it's a safe environment.
Mhm.
And when I joined, I remember for many years, I worked with a guy named Bryant Pergerson, and Bryant, he sat next to me at work, and he was always trying to get me to come to his Toastmasters meetings, and I would go up and I'd watch, but I wasn't about to open my mouth. There was no way. And I watched, and as I was watching, I was learning. I didn't realize I was learning from him at the time, but eventually I went to one of his contests that he was a contestant, and he won. I took Ken along, and that's when Ken was introduced to Toastmasters, and he joined and I didn't because I was I was like, I didn't want to embarrass myself because I didn't feel like I was ever going to be good enough. And, doesn't matter how you start out, it's sticking with it, working through those mental blocks that you have, taking on small roles and gradually learning that you can do it, and you can stand and, you can take on those things. You can learn the management skills too, leadership skills. It's all good.
Well, see, what would you tell a potential member? What would you say to somebody if they're asking you about Toastmasters, or they tell you, no, that isn't for me? What's your answer to that person?
Well, actually, I have had an interesting experience with regard to that question. I have a friend who went with me to the Toastmaster Club that I was attending in California. And she participated, this is the first time, right off the street, participated in the table topics in that meeting and won. Best table topic of the meeting. But she did not join Toastmasters. And she explained to me later that the reason she did not join Toastmasters is because she felt constrained by the 5 to 7 minute limit. She has found that what she wants to talk about and what she needed to talk about took much longer than 5 to 7 minutes. And she actually went on to have a successful career as a facilitator for groups. And, all right, I would say that probably the Toastmasters experience affected her in a way that did not include membership. I would say that probably this friend of mine is an exception to the rule. Most people are rightly scared about delivering speeches in public. They say it's a fear worse than death. I can understand that because you only have to die once. In public speaking, if you're at anywhere near acceptable, you'll have to do it again. And yeah, as Ralph Smedley had pointed out, that the unprepared speaker has every good reason to be afraid. Mm-hmm. No, this is preparation. This is how you prepare. You learn that in Toastmasters. Yeah. And I think more importantly than learning leadership skills, you learn to communicate. Mm-hmm. And communication is practically a human imperative. Mm-hmm. If you're going to be human at all, you're going to have to learn to communicate. That's what we do.
Yeah. That is true. I mean, even I always introduce the impromptu speaking part of the meeting, the table topics, and say, if you think you'll never have to do an impromptu speech, you're wrong, because somebody will walk in and say, hey, how was your vacation? Or someone will lean across the table. So why should we hire you? And both of those are impromptu speeches. But we are out of time. So let me real quick, tomorrow, thank you very much. Thank you both for coming. And to everybody, tomorrow we have a busy contest day. In the morning, we have all areas of Division A. And then that little piece of Utah I'm always talking about, we're van pulling and carpooling up to Utah to see our St. George, Mesquite, Nevada, and Cedar City clubs. So look for the flyer on this Facebook page, Club Growth Director Facebook page, or the District 115 Facebook page. It'll give you the where, when, and how. But please come to that. Do understand they're in a different time zone in Utah, so just accordingly. Thank you. Please try to come to that, and we will see. Jean and I will see you on Monday morning on Wake Up with Toastmasters. Thank you once again. Our Saturday morning live, second and fourth Saturday, 10 a.m. So come to that, and you can go to the beginning of this recording and hear the address, but make sure you come. Thank you very much, and we will see everybody later.
Thanks, Jean.
Thanks.